Welcome to the All-Star Athlete Podcast, your guide to mastering the mental game and reaching your full potential.
If you've been listening to the podcast and you've found the episodes to be informative and or interesting, I encourage you to subscribe to the podcast. I will be releasing episodes weekly, so subscribing to the podcast is the best way to stay up to speed on when the new episodes are released and to make sure that you don't miss any of the content. Also, liking each episode, if you have in fact been enjoying the content, as well as leaving any questions or comments that you may have down below, also go a long way in supporting the podcast. So thank you so much for listening and enjoy the show. And you went to Cornell University, is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, I went to Cornell.
Okay. You're from the East Coast originally?
From Miami, born and raised.
Okay.
Went up north for the school, and then just been bouncing around ever since.
Okay. And you got a bachelor's degree at Cornell?
Mm-hmm. Got a bachelor's in operations, research, and information engineering. So systems optimization is kind of it's just very broad. Just optimization is the major.
Okay. Would you ever want to get into like the AI field? It sounds like,
I mean, super interesting, obviously exploding. A big thing with me is I'm not too familiar on the technical side of it. Like I've never done too much coding or anything like that. It wasn't anything I particularly enjoyed and fully have put myself into, which I feel like is very big in the AI world. But it's super interesting, and the applications to it are so cool, and I use it all the time. But yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, well let's kind of get into it here. I have some fun, what I call pregame questions for you, just to kind of break the ice a little bit, get to know you. I might answer a couple of them. They're just kind of fun questions to get us into the interview, and then I'll have you kind of formally introduce yourself, kind of walk us through your background, that kind of thing. So
sounds good.
Okay, so the first question I have for you is, if goalkeepers had to wear themed costumes during matches, what's your first game day outfit? Are you going to be Batman, a medieval knight, or something totally wild that we wouldn't expect?
Dang. And is this going to the match dressed up, or you're in there dressed up?
So, open to interpretation, but I'm going to say you're in goal, playing goalkeeper, and you had to wear an outfit. Like, what are you going to wear?
I think I might go Jedi.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit off from the suggested. And just more of like for what I mean, honestly, don't know too well. I'm not an expert in Star Wars, but from my understanding, use the Force, keep the ball out, do what you have to do, protect the peace that's going on the field. That's kind of the role of the goalkeeper. Your last line of defense, trying to prevent chaos from unfolding, whether it's talking it, screaming it to your teammates, or doing whatever you need to do, keep the ball out of the net.
Okay. Valid answer, very solid.
Mm-hmm.
Are you gonna be on the dark side, or are you more of like a Luke Skywalker, like on with the Force side?
So one of those, you want to be on the Force, of course, but I almost feel like the way I viewed goalkeeping is you're almost more of the villain for the other team, and you're trying to ruin it for them by preventing it. Of course, it's good for you and your team, but I don't know. I always envisioned it more in the negative role, so maybe I'll go with the dark side.
Okay. So I guess, to your point, you could look at it either way. Like you're the good Jedi for your team,
mm-hmm. and
you're the villain for the other team.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess from your perspective, you're kind of more trying to stop the other team from scoring, more so than you're trying to help your team win. I guess it depends on how you look at it.
Exactly. I mean, hand in hand, two sides of the same coin,
For sure. Okay, cool. Good answer. All right, next question. You get to replace all the cones at training with something ridiculous. What are you picking? Inflatable flamingos, traffic signs, mini garden gnomes, or something else?
Ooh. From those, I think I'm between the flamingos and the gnomes. I'm gonna go gnomes because they gotta be able to take a hit as well, and those gnomes I know can take a hit from what I've seen. I don't know.
Okay.
That's a funny question.
Are you a Harry Potter guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember in one of the Harry Potter stories, I think when they were at like the Weasley's house, They had like garden gnomes or whatever. I don't know if you remember that. Did you read the books or did you just watch the movies?
I did them both.
Both.
I was so into it, but it's been a while. I definitely need the refresher. Need to do a Harry Potter marathon.
I'm a huge Harry Potter guy, and I remember when they were at Ron Weasley's house, they were like tasked with cleaning the garden of like garden gnomes, and they would like run through and they had to like yank them out and like throw them over the hedge or something. So that's what I'm visualizing when I think of garden gnomes. I'm a big Harry Potter guy myself, so
it's the best.
Okay, yeah, and those gnomes could take a hit for sure.
100%, yeah.
They knew they were coming back, so they had to like give them an extra kick in the ass to get them over the fence.
For sure, yeah, that's so funny. Yeah,
okay,
I'll go gnomes.
Okay, good answer. Third question. If you were required to trash talk only using quotes from a movie or TV show, what's your go-to line, and what's the reaction from the striker who's lining up against you?
Ooh, that's a good question. For me, my favorite is like the 2000 style Will Ferrell comedies. Like that was my jam growing up. I know it doesn't have Will Ferrell in it, I don't believe. Yeah. But what immediately comes to mind is the movie Dodgeball. There's some good one-liners in there. And I don't know if you've seen it. It's like a show. It's on Netflix, or not Netflix, on Hulu now, called Shoresy, a hockey show. It's a Canadian show, hockey players, and their trash-talking game is just unbelievable. It's so funny. Highly recommend checking it out. Really, really entertaining show. And yeah, great trash talk in that. That's probably would be my one.
What's the go-to line? Like if you had like were you much of a trash talker?
No, that's the one thing about being a goalkeeper that's like you kind of miss out on. Like you get little moments here and there. Me personally, I'm not a huge trash talker. It's just not my personality. But yeah, the only time I get to ever hear something is like corner kicks when everyone's up in the box around me. There's some going on then. But yeah, the best of it just happens within the play, and I'm just kind of back there on an island a lot of the time, so not too much going on.
Yeah, I guess you're probably more concerned with like yelling at your own defenders,
exactly,
to get in the right place
100%.
Than you are yelling at the opposing strikers.
Exactly. That's 100% the position. Is if you're not actively doing something, it's what's going wrong. Is everyone on my team set up? If we lost the ball and they get it, where are we most vulnerable? How are we ready to defend it? Okay. So that's definitely what's going on through my head in those moments, but it would be fun to get some trash talk in.
Okay, for sure. Would you trash talk your teammates like during practice and stuff? Or?
Oh yeah. Big time. That's the most fun. That's probably the most fun thing is in practice, those inner team, not rivalries, but goalkeepers trash talking to forwards, maybe placing a little bet on how many goals they can get, loser buys coffee the next morning, stuff like that. Definitely, yeah. It's fun.
That's actually funny because I've had a couple of guests on the show who have said that they trash talk their teammates more than they did guys on the other team. When they were playing. I was like, I mean, it's obviously like in good fun.
Totally.
Like they're joking, but it's like you're around all the same guys all the time. Mm-hmm. Whereas you play the other team like once a season, twice a season, maybe depending on the sport, depending on the situation. So it's like more playfully like trash talking than it is like seriously trash talking.
100%, yeah. And I feel like it's that way kind of outside as well. Like the people you might be technically say the meanest things to are your best friends in the world, but it's like it's all trash talk. You're just messing with each other.
Right. You know it's in good fun.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Next question. What is your most clutch snack choice before a match that probably goes against every nutritionist's advice, but you're still going with it?
Yeah. Growing up, I mean, it's not so much a snack, more of a meal, but growing up, always pancakes on game day. That was the one. Like, I mean, a lot of nutritionists, especially for soccer, would say that's not the worst thing in the world. Just get some sugar, get yourself going. But that was something as I got older, obviously started being a little stricter with food and all that with the athlete diet. But pancakes on game day that's the best for me.
Okay, are we going with like blueberry pancakes, chocolate chip pancakes, protein pancakes, anything specific?
Plain buttermilk
just
pancakes,
plain.
Butter and syrup.
Okay.
Yep.
Are we going like pancake syrup, like Aunt Jemima, or maple syrup? Because there's a big difference.
Huge difference. Today, I would go maple, but growing up, I'm thinking hotel, like bad hotel continental breakfast.
Okay.
You're either making the waffle or you got that button pancake dispenser with their crappy syrup. But I don't know, something about it just always hits.
It hits? All
Yeah.
right, that's fair. All right, last warm-up question here. You get to bring one past or present professional goalkeeper into a 2v2 game of beach soccer with you. Who is your partner, and who are you absolutely not picking under any circumstances?
Oof.
These could be teammates. They could be professional keepers, male or female, open to interpretation.
Oh, that's a good question. I got to go with like a Brazilian keeper. Just the beach soccer culture over there is different. Right now, there's two goalkeeper, probably two of the best in the world. Ederson and Alisson are their names. Probably I'll say Ederson. He's a goalkeeper for Manchester City, Brazilian goalkeeper, and he's famous for how incredible he is with his feet. So I feel like that would be a good combo if he can focus more on the scoring for us, and I can maybe hang back more in a game of beach soccer. So I'll say him.
All right, so let's hop into the main portion of our interview now. I'd like to start by having you formally introduce yourself for our listeners and walk us through, if you could, your soccer journey from growing up in Miami to competing at Cornell and then making the leap into professional soccer.
Totally. So my name is Ryan Shellow, born and raised in Miami, Florida. I'd say I came from a little more untraditional of a background that got me into soccer, at least. Neither of my parents grew up playing. They weren't necessarily soccer fans, didn't know anything about the sport. I feel like a lot of little kids, it's one of the first sports you get thrown into, get help with your coordination and all that. Obviously great for that, start making friends. And it's just something that I have two brothers, and I'm a year younger than my older brother. He played soccer, and it was something that I really just followed him with. As we got older, we played every sport. We played flag football, baseball, basketball. We did it all. So as we got older, we just stayed with soccer as it went on, and then it got to the point where we wanted to play travel. And it just, continued from there. Went through the classic kind of, at least a few years ago, what that soccer environment was, local club teams. Played with the team down there named Pinecrest Premier. As I got older, then there's a lot of bigger national leagues. It was called U.S. Soccer Development Academy, and that's where a lot of the MLS teams have academy teams, along with just different local clubs are qualified and a part of that league. And
this was still in Florida?
This was all still in Miami. Yep.
Oh,
so I grew up
in Miami.
All in Miami. Grew up, went to an academy team named Kendall. There is where that was in high school, my sophomore year of high school, started doing that. And when you do that, can't play high school soccer as well. So that was like an interesting thing that would have been nice. Of course, you want to be a part of your community and in your school. So I got to play my freshman year, and in 8th grade were the 2 years I played soccer and for the school. And it was with that team that all the college recruitment happens. They have a lot of national showcases, playoffs, things like that within the league. And that led me to getting recruited to go to Cornell. Decided to go there because their coach told me that I could compete to start from day one. Obviously, you go to a lot of programs, especially the bigger programs. They tell you got to pay your dues. You're going to ride the bench for at least a couple years, most likely. And even then, after that, you never know who might come in, and it's just tough. There's no guarantees. And what I liked about Cornell was the year before I got there, the starter was a freshman, and the coach told me, "Listen, you come in and you work, and you deserve to play. I'll let you play." That coach ended up actually not being with the program by the time I got there. Him and the program, they parted ways in the spring before the fall I arrived. And I was really fortunate. I was committed to play. I was really fortunate that the coach who's there now, who's been there since 2016, so he's almost at 10 years now, he came in. He was a first assistant at Stanford, and they just finished winning a national championship. And John Smith is his name, and he's doing an amazing job at Cornell. And our first year there, we were the worst team in the country. We won one game. Luckily, John also saw it the same way, where to him it was he kind of had a roster that he was put onto him, not his guys necessarily. So for him it was he's just gonna work with what he has. No commitments to guys that have put in the dues quite as much. Of course, you want to give the seniors, but he's willing to give you playing time if you deserve it. And yeah, had a great time at Cornell. We completely changed the culture there, which was a huge step in the program moving forward. Was able to play a lot during my time there. I suffered a concussion my sophomore year, which was tough, but got through it. Played redshirt sophomore, junior, and senior year. And then I was due to come back for my fifth season that I missed with the concussion. And then that's when COVID hit. COVID hits, our season gets canceled. And at that point, I decide, okay, let's see if we can go pro, see if anything can happen there. Was able to sign with a great agency called Zurich Sports Management. And they helped me get my foot in the door playing third division soccer for FC Tucson in Tucson, Arizona. And that was the first place I was at. I was there for 1 year, which was an interesting experience. Didn't get to play, but it was very much a welcome to the pros, great learning experience. From there, I moved up to the second division and played with Detroit City FC in Detroit, which is unbelievable club, famous for their fan base. Just great spot. I tell people all the time, you should visit Detroit. It's a great city. The people there are unbelievable. And then that leads to last year. I finished out my last season playing with the Richmond Kickers back in League One is what it's called, the third division league. And then recently moved to San Diego, and here we are.
Thank you for sharing all that information. Yeah. I'm sure we'll break that down to some more bite-sized pieces. But totally. That's a kind of a big picture of where you started and kind of moving up through the ranks, all the different clubs that you played for, kind of taking us to where you are now.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yep.
So before we go any further, in case our listeners have any questions for you or would like to connect with you about any of your experiences, do you have any social media profiles that you'd be comfortable sharing?
Yeah, totally. You can definitely hit me up on Instagram. It's just at Ryan Shellow, my name there. I have Twitter, have LinkedIn. Anywhere you can find at Ryan Shellow is fine. Yeah.
Okay. And people are more than welcome to reach out to you, connect with you, current hopeful athletes, younger, or maybe they're going through their journey right now.
Totally.
If they have any questions for you about the process, because it sounds like you have a lot of experience at a lot of different levels. Was Cornell Division I?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Division I, college soccer goalie,
yep.
And then a couple of different clubs at the professional level. Mm-hmm. Those were paid?
Yep. All paid.
All paid. Okay. And even though you didn't get much playing time, you were still part of the professional experience.
100%, definitely.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'll definitely include the links to the social media profiles in the description for this episode. Do you have any other coaching programs or anything that you do, or any other websites that you'd like to share, or mostly just your social media?
Mostly social media. I'm hoping to get into some training, specifically goalkeeper, specific private trainings, individual, small groups is something I'm hoping to do now that I've done with the playing. It's something I picked up a couple years ago in Detroit. I started coaching a little bit, and it's been cool. It's cool to any questions for the younger generations are free to ask, and it's cool to coach and try to help others out.
For sure. And actually, we were talking about this a little bit before we started the show today. You just moved down here to San Diego recently, and San Diego is a pretty big soccer hotbed as far as places in the country. It sounds like Miami, totally. Florida is as well, but San Diego is definitely a big one with lots of youth soccer programs and private soccer programs and farm teams. And actually, San Diego just got a MLS team this year as well.
Yes, they did.
Is it just San Diego FC?
Yep, SDFC.
Okay.
That's the new team. Yeah, no, it's a great soccer landscape here. They have a Surf Cup is a countrywide famous tournament. I even came here when I was 12 for that tournament. It's like it's huge. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're definitely in the right place then, as far as like if you're trying to start your career as a soccer coach. As a matter of fact, I know a couple people in the soccer coaching community, so I could maybe connect you with them after the show. But yeah, I look forward to, and our listeners might be reaching out to you as far as like soccer coaching if they're in the area or even remote kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally. Any questions with that or want some training, please reach out.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's move on to the next question here. You had a brief professional career. It lasted what?
4 years.
4 years?
4 years. Yep.
Okay. So during the course of your professional career, you had some pretty tough moments as far as club culture and coaches and maybe not getting as much playing time as you would have liked. What was going through your head during your professional career? I know that that's kind of a long period of time, but walk me through maybe kind of early professional career, middle of your professional career, and then maybe towards the end, just kind of briefly, like what went through your head during that time?
Yeah. A lot of frustration, to be honest. A lot of frustration and some anger, especially early on. It was a very, very difficult situation because it's one of those things you come to a team and pretty much every coach tells you the right things. Like, we want you to compete. We want you to get after it every day, and you can earn your chance. My first year, I was in a situation where it didn't matter what happens. We have our starter, and we're not going to deviate from that no matter what happens in the game or in practice. And that was a situation that they're telling me it's not. I'm being told that's not the situation, but that's very clearly what's happening. And for me, anger is what was starting to come out more than anything. I was showing up angry every day. I was mad on the field. I was just pissed. I was pissed being there, and I was mad at the situation. And in that first year, it came to a point where the goalkeepers had a meeting with our goalkeeper coach, and the coach kind of went one by one on things that as a group we're not performing good enough, and it was like kind of what everyone's doing wrong and what they need to work on. And for me, he was just like, you got to fix your head. That's what's wrong with you. You're mad. You're way too negative, and it's become a problem. And that was obviously no one wants to hear that. Growing up, I was very much. I had a very positive mindset. I loved to play, and it was always a situation where I say a goalkeeper gets brought in. The coach it might be a guy the coach knows for years. You bring him in. I knew I could work my way, and that I could prove myself and show that I should be the one in net at the end when it comes to game time. And it pretty much up to that point, I was always able to do that. I played more than 45 games in my time at Cornell. Every year I was pretty much a starter. And then I get to this new place, and it doesn't matter. I'm fighting, I'm playing well, working my butt off. It's just not enough. And so the frustration is really what came out more than anything. And that was difficult to get to a place where you can only control, you realize you can only control what you can control. And that's what you do day in, day out. How you behave is a big one. I was a negative influence in the locker room, which was an issue, which doesn't matter who you are. Nobody wants that on your team. So that was a big learning for my first year. The second year, I went into a similar situation, designated starter. He was a club legend, has been with the club since they were a semi-pro men's league team. Been with them the whole way, Detroit born and raised. And the coach even told me, the name here is you're not going to play. His name is Nate, and he's like, listen, Nate's going to play. If Nate's healthy, Nate's going to play. And so a little more of that, but it became a little less frustration, more of just better at dealing with this situation and controlling what I can control. Obviously frustration still, just because I'm too competitive of a person I hate sitting, and that's something that would never change. And yeah, so with my career, it was just a lot of frustration, to be honest. And then towards the end, similar frustration started coming out with coaches telling you one thing and different things happening, and you feel you're not getting the opportunities you deserve that you've earned, that you feel you've earned, that teammates have told you you've earned. And the frustration kind of is what even led me to stop playing, just because I couldn't really do it anymore.
Okay. because how old are you now?
27.
Okay, 27. So hypothetically, like still in your athletic prime.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you were forced to retire due to injury or anything like that.
Nope.
You had just given it a try at the professional level in 3 different clubs, and different coaches, obviously, different cultures. We'll talk about that a little bit separately here in a minute. Mm-hmm. But you just weren't playing.
Exactly.
And you were frustrated, you were angry, the mentality was just not really there, and it sounds like you were kind of ready to move on.
Exactly.
At that point. Had you been playing, you'd probably still be playing.
Totally.
For
I have no doubt.
One club or another.
Yep.
And I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, you probably were you more frustrated? I guess let me ask you this way. Were you more frustrated at the coaches or the other players or yourself, or what was that frustration coming from or directed at?
Yeah, coaches. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones making the decisions. They get to decide who's playing or not. Us as players, we're all in the same boat. Like my first year, the goalkeeper that was playing above me is the nicest guy you'd ever meet in your entire life. His name is Wallace Lapsley. He's playing for a team in Madison, Wisconsin right now. The greatest person and the best professional. Looking back on that year, Wallace did everything right. He was first one in, last one out. Came every day with so much like positivity and a great attitude. I still would argue, based on the play, I would like to have played and felt I deserved it. But that's another thing. That's where the coaches make the decisions. But in the things that we could control, we're all on a team. We're all teammates, and we all want the same thing for the team to win. So yeah, the anger was never towards the players. It was pretty much always towards the coaches.
Okay, and looking back, I mean, your coach, the first coach that said you kind of need to fix yourself mentally. Mm-hmm. Did you agree with him back then? Did you feel like you were being negative and toxic and detrimental to your team, mm-hmm. or is it only like now, looking back, that you realize that you were maybe a little bit more negative?
It definitely, in retrospect, it's like Vision's 2020. Like, okay, absolutely. In the moment, I did come around, but the first reaction is that same, like, screw you, man. Like, you're just you're just looking for an excuse to put me down, is how I felt in that moment, because I knew I was playing well. If my play's not the issue, why wouldn't you play me? That makes sense. So in the moment, it took me like a good couple weeks and couple conversations with guys on the team that I respected, and talking with family and just taking a look in the mirror and being like, okay, the coach is telling me this, like it's something that this is what I need to work on, then that's something to work on. You got to address that issue.
Were other people giving you that same feedback? Were your teammates giving you that feedback? Was your family, were your friends mm-hmm. giving you that feedback? Like, hey, you're being a little too negative here, even though you're not playing, which I get it is very frustrating. Mm-hmm. You were the best goalie on any team you'd ever been on, including mm-hmm. up at the D1 level. And so obviously I could understand why you would be frustrated to go to the next level and then not be playing.
Totally.
Because in your mind, you're like, I'm the best goalie. You probably mm-hmm. maybe even felt like you were outplaying these guys in practice.
Yep.
And you're still not playing, which is very confusing and obviously frustrating, especially when the coach is telling you if you work hard and you show up and you earn your spot, then you're going to get it. Exactly. You felt like you were doing that, and then you're still not playing.
Exactly. Yep.
So were you getting that feedback from other people as well?
I did when I went and started asking them. I was like, hey, the coach just told me this. Like, have I been a negative force in this locker room? Am I bringing it down? And and the guy in my locker, who is someone I really respect and one of my good friends, I played with him in Richmond as well, was like, yeah, you are. Like, you're pissed every single day. And that's, you got to take that on the chin and move forward from there, you know?
Did you ever get the chance to work with a mental performance coach or a sports psychologist? Did you have that resource available to you, like somebody that you could talk to about these issues or work through these issues with to kind of mm-hmm. steady the ship and
not through the club or anything. I've worked with a therapist for my own mental health well-being. I've had my own mental health struggles on and outside the field, just in life in general, that I've worked with since college. And I'm a big advocate on mental health and speaking with people and all that. But in a sports performance specific environment, no, I haven't. I've read a couple books that were incredibly helpful, especially in college with dealing with that. Our coach had our whole team read a couple books. But yeah, no, I've never worked with one.
Okay. Well, for what it's worth, I haven't known you that long, but to me, you seem like a pretty chill, relaxed guy.
Yeah.
Would you say that even in just the past couple of years, you've come a long way in handling your attitude and...
100%. I think so. I definitely have made some strides. It's still something I look back on. It's still very recent. Obviously, I stopped playing in November, and it's end of May right now.
So 6 months ago, you were still playing professional.
I'm fresh, very freshly out, and it's already one of those things where you take a step back and you can see it more clearly. But it's definitely something I look back on, and on every team, at one point or another, that frustration kind of overtook me, and I know it consumed it. Like my last 2 months in Richmond, I felt like I was back in Tucson, where I was just so angry at coming into practice every day.
Okay. Well, I mean, I like to believe that everything happens for a reason, and your professional playing career is over for now, maybe forever. Mm-hmm. But, you're on to something else right now, and maybe hopefully you learned a good 100%. Deal about yourself from your coaches, from your teammates, from your experiences that you can take with you.
Totally.
Moving forward. Hopefully you don't have too many regrets or any regrets about your
some,
career.
But it's one of those things where it's all you can do is learn from it. And that's what I'm currently coming to terms with, and hoping to not make those same mistakes moving forward, with having a good mindset and working as hard as I can is another one. And yeah, like you said, like I think of myself as a pretty chill. I try to be happy day to day and bring a good energy. And I think the fact that I was in a position where I wasn't that person probably wasn't the best thing for me in my own life and the person I want to be.
What would you say is the number one thing that you learned from your professional soccer playing career?
To not worry about the things you can't control is the biggest thing. That in any team environment, whether it's a job, an actual team, or in a family, like there's going to be things out of your control. There's going to be bad situations. The only thing you can control is yourself and what you're doing and how you can contribute to the situation, not the decisions other people make.
I think that's a really great lesson to learn, and a really great lesson for our listeners, generally speaking, because you can control your effort, you can control your training routine, you can control your diet, you can control how hard you play, but you can't control whether or not the coach picks you to play.
Exactly.
You can't control the skill level of the other goalies. You can't control your playing time or whether you get subbed in or out, or all you can control is, to your point, and in sports psychology we generally refer to it as control the controllables, right? Control what you can control, and then the chips will fall as they may.
Exactly.
I understand the frustration and the anger for not playing, but I'm glad that you were able to learn that lesson,
100%,
albeit a hard one, and that will be something that you can take moving forward, whether you're coaching or working in a sales position or doing anything else in your life.
Yeah, 100%.
So as far as the frustration and the anger and the toxic coaches that you may or may not have played for, you've experienced some pretty negative situations throughout your soccer playing career, but you've also experienced some locker rooms with some great culture as 100%. Well. I think you mentioned to me before we started the show. What did you learn about yourself, leadership, communication, or even trust from both of those different types of environments?
Yeah, totally. Well, number one thing, and especially in those good culture situations, is just the importance of communication, and accountability is another big one. That's probably the biggest difference between the good locker rooms and the bad locker rooms, is where the accountability falls. In the good ones, it's always everyone's looking in the mirror first and foremost, and trying to do what they can personally versus the bad ones where more of the finger pointings, the more fights were happening, things like that, more arguments. Yeah, that was probably the biggest thing. And just another thing was just, again, it goes back to an issue with me was the negativity versus positivity, and just the way you view things and attack issues is just trying to do it in a positive light, and just being open and honest, having an honest discussions with teammates and working together towards a solution, as opposed to you need to do this, you need to do that, you're not doing this well enough. Yeah, just all about how you frame the issues, I think, is a big one in communication.
Okay, and I'm guessing a lot of that kind of comes top down.
Yeah.
So if the coach is kind of calling out people and you need to do this, you need to do that, it's very much like finger pointing.
Mm-hmm.
And versus a coach who is a little bit more self-accountable. I need to do this, I need to do that.
Yes.
And then that's going to hold everybody underneath them a little bit more self-accountable as well.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
On your third professional soccer team, you finally got a little bit more playing time. Did you actually, you saw some like in-game time?
Yeah. I got more playing time last year than I did in any other season combined. I got to play, I played 14 professional games over 4 years. So it was a long haul, a lot of time between those games. My first one was I played one game my second year. I played 3 my third, and then I played 10 my fourth. So it was definitely a good step in the right direction.
Okay, but despite feeling like you were moving in the right direction, you still decided to retire 6 months ago.
Yeah.
What led you to that decision to retire? Because it sounded like you were maybe moving closer to playing more.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. It was more than anything how the season kind of finished. There was a lot of frustration from the start. Last year, I was playing with the two other goalkeepers. One is a league legend. He's been in the league since its founding, and he's known by everyone in the league, and they brought him in as this guy's a veteran presence. He brings a lot to the table, and he gets it. He's won a championship before, and that was the outlook. He came in, they gave him the captain's armband in preseason, and just went from there, and he's going to lead this team. But our team struggled. We didn't have a good start. We weren't winning games. It got to a point where I was given an opportunity, and we got to play against a second division team as a third division team in a tournament called the U.S. Open Cup. In that game, we ended up losing in penalties, but I had a shutout after 120 minutes. And then the next game, I was still on the bench. So it was just more of the frustration started to show. You do a good performance, and then I felt like I would be punished. I ended up getting a string of 4 games then. In those 4 games, we won 1, tied 1, and then lost the second 2, 1-0. And in both those games, we had plenty of opportunities to score, and we got scored on in the last 5 minutes of each of those games. And I got pulled out for an extent for over a month from there again. And in my eyes, I felt that I was still performing well. The team was doing well. We weren't conceding 2-3 goals like we were before. Small step in the right direction. It'd be great to get shutouts, of course, as a goalkeeper. But to me, I can't score the goals. So that's where the frustration started to come in, where I was getting punished because of offensive issues. It was just a reoccurring thing. And then it kept snowballing from there. Would get a chance. We don't win the game, automatically back out. Got another chance, back out. Then I got my last chance, had a good stretch of a few games. And in my last game, I slipped on a baseball field, and I was blacklisted for the rest of the year. And that was it, yeah. So it was a step in the right direction, but just the day-to-day of last season and throughout the year was mentally the most taxing of any, just because in that situation more than any, it was, to me, so obvious that I should have been playing. And but in this situation, I was just so frustrated, and I couldn't grasp why I wasn't playing. Just the frustration.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to win when your team doesn't score.
Exactly, yeah.
And I feel like it's pretty unrealistic for a goalie to have a shutout every single game.
Mm-hmm.
And even some of those games where you were basically having a shutout,
mm-hmm.
your team still didn't win.
Exactly. At the end of the day, it's business, and what wins is what matter. And that goes to, at the end of the season, I didn't play a single time because even though we were conceding 2 goals a game, we were scoring 3. Like the first game after I came out, next keeper in, got scored on twice, but we scored 3 and won the game. So from there, like, we win with him in net. So just keep going on that.
Okay. Interesting. Well, that does sound frustrating. I'm sorry that was your experience, but
at the end of the day, another big takeaway is it's business. All that, a lot of it, at the end of the day, it's the results what matter. And however the coach gets that decisions on them, I can argue and disagree all I want, but their boss is the boss.
Right. Okay, let's go on to some more fun questions now.
Cool.
Okay, it's we'll call it halftime.
Yeah.
Good first half.
Yeah. Oh man, I feel like I've been so negative,
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, it's part of your journey, and I thank you for sharing that with us because you wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for that. And a big scope of this podcast, I'll be honest with you, is a lot of the people who I've talked to on this show have shared similar stories and experiences, whether it was forced to retire due to injury. It was, for example, I've had a couple people on who were a couple of women who did like dance and cheer as their primary sports that they participated in, and just toxic coaching and body negativity and body image and body dysmorphia kind of stuff. I've talked to a lot of people about negative team chemistry and cohesion, just locker room dissent,
100%.
disagreements, negative coaches. I actually wrote a paper in college because I actually played soccer, and I had a really negative experience with a high school soccer coach who was very negative and used, he would call me out in front of the team, all this kind of stuff. Anyways, the scope, one of the biggest scopes of this podcast is hearing about these stories, because you don't often hear about the negative side of athletics.
100%. And I feel like that's probably the more common side as well, because those experiences is what lead people to stop playing their sport and to stop pursuing it a lot of the times too. And I feel like there's a very limited amount of people that make the next level and the next level or professional level. And those are, I feel like, obviously the success stories. So you hear the positives that come from that, but that's not the norm, I would say.
Right. It's kind of like if you've ever heard, like, history is told from the side of the winning team or the winning country or whatever.
Totally.
Like, you don't often hear about what happened to the losers.
Exactly.
Basically, or the side that lost, if you will. But I thank you for sharing your experiences, as negative as they are, because, again, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for these, because you'd probably still be playing, as we talked about earlier. But even people who are still playing probably did also have negative experiences.
100%.
So I am trying to normalize talking about this and bringing light to these situations. And that's a big scope of this podcast. And as a mental performance coach, I work with a lot of people like yourself. That's why I asked that question earlier about, like, well, in the middle of all of this, had you had access to a mental performance coach, they might have been able to help you work on your mindset and not be so frustrated and angry and negative and toxic as far as contributing to locker room culture and so forth. And you might still be playing because of that. Obviously, that's neither here nor there, but the point being, yes, what you've talked about today has been negative, but it's a big part of the picture of what's going on in professional or even amateur sports. And so it's important that it's talked about.
Totally.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
That being said, let's break it up a little bit more fun stuff here, and then we'll move into the second half of your journey. If you had to relive one locker room moment on loop for eternity, good, bad, or hilarious, okay, what is the memory and what made it unforgettable?
Definitely had all of those types of locker room moments, of course.
Let's make it a hilarious one.
Something
ridiculous that happened.
Oh, I'm trying to remember one.
Like a prank, or somebody showed up super late, or just like an inside team joke or something.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'm struggling to think of a funny one right now, but I can go with a good one. There was when I was in Detroit, we played against an MLS side, Columbus Crew, in the U.S. Open Cup tournament where all levels get to play against each other for like the one champion in the country. And in Detroit, we got Columbus there to play at us where we were in Detroit, sold out stadium, and we ended up winning the game 2-1. And the locker room after that, it's just electric. That's the feeling that you live for, is that final whistle blows, you won a huge game. The celebration after that was good. It was a good time. And yeah, that I would say that moment in the locker room after beating Crew, a game I didn't even play in, it's just one of those moments that's so special that you just would relive it all day, every day.
You'll always remember that experience, that win. I mean, you were part of the team whether or not you played. Every team carries 2-3 plus goalies, right?
Yep.
So not everybody's playing all the time. But
exactly, yeah.
I mean, and the thing that I think a lot of people misunderstand is, yes, you want to be the starting goalkeeper and you want to play in games. But when you're part of a team, you're still an integral part of the team.
100%.
Because you still play in practice, right? You still contribute to your teammates being better. A professional or any soccer team can't really play with one goalie.
Exactly.
Because when you're practicing, you need to have more than one goalie. You're probably playing 11v11 intra-team or 7v7. You're still contributing to the team. You're still backing up the starting goalie. Like, it still matters. You're still a part of the team.
100%. And that goes for anyone, like, not seeing the playing time is
right.
That game day that's one day a week. The rest of the week, you're huge. You're vital for the good of the team. And like a lot of times it's like a lot of the bench players are probably best friends with some of the star guys. They're not necessarily friends with some of the other stars all the time. Like the bench guys are the ones that really glue in the team and can lead to more success. And 100%. Especially in soccer, a big part of goalkeeping is the goalkeeper union, is what it's called. And it's literally every team has their own version of it. And it's just kind of a well-known thing in the soccer goalkeeping environment is we're all goalkeepers. We're all that guy stuck in the net. We're always going to uplift each other. And like, that's one aspect that even all my teams throughout the frustration is the goalkeeper union has always been strong. And we've always been there for each other.
Let's go to the next question here. You're hosting a keeper-only reality show. Okay. What's the name of the show? What is the first challenge? And who's getting voted off immediately?
Ooh, I would say I'd kind of just go back to GK Union or something like that for the name. It just really is. That's what goalkeeping's all about, and it's very big. It is a community, and there's goalkeeper specific conferences and all that. So GKU or GK Union would be the name. First challenge, I'm gonna go crossbar challenge. Line the ball up 20 yards out. Last one to not hit the crossbar and the goal is out. And for me, that's because goalkeeping, a lot of people, I guess a misconception if you don't know the game great, is goalkeepers are just kind of the person who get to use their hands, but they don't realize just how much of a player you have to be a top quality goalkeeper. Like, you're touching the ball with your hands maybe 20% of the time. The other 80% is all feet. So off the bat, if we're having a reality competition show, something like that, if you can't play with your feet, you're out.
Okay. Who's getting voted off immediately? Like teammate? Like, I know you don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but probably not you.
Yeah, not me.
Did you? I mean, you don't have to name any names, but were there any like goalies that you played with that were like?
There's been a couple throughout the years where it's like, dude, like you got to be able to kick the ball.
So you've got somebody in mind, but you don't want to. We don't want to throw anybody.
I have a couple ideas. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's fair. We'll move past that, but it sounds like it would be an entertaining show nonetheless, because I'm 100%. Sure there are some goalies that, I mean, can't play with their feet. They
can't play with their feet, and also just that'd be an incredible show because goalkeepers are just they're known for being crazy.
Personalities.
Wild personalities, just a little weird. A lot of people, a little weird. I like to
yourself included.
Myself included. I've been told like you're one of the better ones. like a little less weird, which I'll take it. But at the end of the day, you got to be a weirdo to be willing to be jumping around on the ground the way we do day in and day out, and be in a thankless position like the goalkeeper a lot of times is.
Okay, for sure. All right, next question here, and no reusing your answer from the pregame.
Okay.
Because we already said Jedi
Yep.
powers earlier, okay? So let's say your gloves are actually magical and you get one superpower every game. What power are you picking, and how does it help you lock down the net?
Ooh. I'm thinking power to like slow down time. It's
Okay.
probably what I'm going with. Like to be
Like
able,
in the Matrix
yeah,
kind
kind
of
of
vibes?
the Matrix, just be able to because that's just a big part of sports in general, is staying composed in the chaos, and in a way of like time's literally slowed down. Okay, I don't need to panic. I have time to get over there to make this play. I see what's unfolding and I can react. And yeah, to be able to slow down time, be able to get maybe a little extra step in to get closer to the ball on a save would be nice, or something like that. Yeah, I feel like that'd be pretty helpful.
Okay, for sure. Good answer. All right, next question. In an alternate universe where you're not an athlete, what bizarre or totally unexpected career would you be thriving in?
Ooh, it's a good question. I like problem solving. I always like building stuff. So maybe a career. That's why I went into engineering. I was always just drawn to math and sciences, the STEM fields. Something in STEM probably. When I was little, I wanted to be like a mechanic so I could build things. So something along those lines, where just projects, building things, I think would be something I could do.
Okay. Anything like a Lego engineer, or like something a little...
Lego engineer would be sick.
Did you build Legos when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Great.
Legos. I've actually thought about getting some.
They're so expensive.
They're so expensive.
It's ridiculous.
And then it's
I kind of want to, and it's like, right now I don't really have the time to be building Legos at the moment, I feel
For
like.
sure.
But it's like, yeah, man, they're just expensive.
They're fun, but then, I mean, they're expensive, they're fun, but then once you're done building it, like, what do you do with it?
Exactly.
I mean, you see these guys that have like a whole like cabinet with
Yeah,
like,
the collection.
the Death Star and the Harry Potter castle and like Mario and Yoshi, and it's like, I guess they're like kind of artwork,
Yeah.
sculptures.
I
but-
get it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
kind of have your accomplishments
Yeah.
on display.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know if my girlfriend would be digging that
she
aesthetic in
wouldn't
the
be vibing
apartment,
that.
but yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, last question here before we move on to the second part. You've got 30 seconds to give the most unhinged hype locker room speech imaginable before a championship match. What's coming out of your mouth?
Ooh.
Were you like the guy that was like yelling, like super hype in the locker room, like in the middle of everybody, like getting people pumped up, or were you like a little bit more chill?
More chill. I would have my moments. I think in college, a little more of that rah culture was going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, as time went on, definitely more chill. It would just be more of, just more chill, just positive outlook, try to control what we can control, a little more relaxed, not too crazy. I don't think I would go.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you said a few minutes ago you weren't really like the crazy guy. Mm-hmm. You're a little bit more
Yeah. I'll have my
reserved.
moments 100 for sure. I'll do a little yell, like a little let's go, come on.
Okay.
Here we go. Something like
All
that.
right, nothing crazy then.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, nothing too wild
Okay.
for me.
All right, cool. All right, let's move on here. You recently decided to step away from playing professional soccer. Mm-hmm. Okay. After all of the challenges and all the growth and everything that happened throughout your professional soccer playing career, what led to that decision, and how did it feel emotionally to make that call to step away?
Yeah. It's difficult. It was it took. I started considering it in my time in Detroit, just largely because of that frustration and thinking, do I want to keep putting myself through this cycle in a way of where you get in a bad situation, you're stuck in it. So it takes a toll on your personal life as well. I have a girlfriend that I live with. We moved 2 times in 2 years, and both those moves were really difficult. It's hard on a relationship. And you miss a lot. I missed one of my closest friends from college. I was supposed to be in his wedding, and I had to let him know right before. I was planning on going. I was at Richmond. I was at a time where I was starting to play, and the coach told me I'm the starter from here on out. So I told him I couldn't make it, and that week I ended up getting benched for an extended period again.
But you still missed the wedding.
And I still missed the wedding, and it hurt him, and it hurt him, and it hurt his wife, and they were like two people that mean a lot to me, and yeah, it's like, why am I doing this if it's like I'm not even getting the reward I'm looking for from it? It's pretty much just causing me a lot of pain, and it's causing people I care about a lot of pain. I'm missing a lot of life events around me. Why am I going to keep, and honest, money's not too good in minor league professional soccer in the U.S. as well. Obviously I have a degree from a good university as well. So it's like, okay, why am I doing this? Because if it's just a pride thing, like I've done 4 years of that, of living for kind of a pride, trying to just do it for myself like that.
So ultimately you stepped away because it was impacting you personally more than anything.
Yeah.
Like your relationships with your girlfriend, with your friends.
100%.
You were moving. It was hard on you. You weren't really playing that much anyways.
Yep.
Emotionally, it was just taking a toll on you. The frustration, the anger, and you kind of just decided that it wasn't really worth it anymore. So you decided to hang it up.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just wasn't worth it anymore.
Okay. After being in the grind of competitive soccer for so long, because you probably started when you were like 4 or 5 years old, right?
Yep.
So you were playing competitive soccer at some level for 20 plus years, probably. What are you discovering about yourself now that you've stepped away from the game?
It's a good question. More than anything, I look at more of things that I view as like mistakes or kind of regrets, especially more recently in the professional career, where it's okay, moving forward, I don't want to have the same mentality and be as negative as I was and deal with some of the things I dealt with in those work environments. Realizing kind of what I would like moving forward has been what I've been realizing more. And also another thing is how I want to be, I don't want to say perceived, but like how I want to feel day to day, and understanding the hard work that it really takes to be successful. Like I know what I've done in soccer, how hard I worked, but at the end of the day, I think towards the end, I took my foot off the gas, which was to my own detriment. And that's something I regret not taking advantage of, the time I had in my time as a professional, both on and off the field. So that's something that I've been realizing since hanging them up in November.
So kind of reflecting back on your career, maybe there's a few things that you would have changed, but also you're learning some things about yourself now based on kind of how you acted and your mentality before, in that you don't want to be like that anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. How I want to feel every day, and what I can do to ensure I'm in a good place individually, like mentally and physically, and doing the right things day to day.
Okay. And as far as coming to that realization, let's talk about two things here. First, when you were playing, and then second, sort of now. Okay, so you can kind of take this as a two-part question. I know you said you didn't work with any sort of mental performance coach necessarily, but you did mention that you read some books. You were probably aware of mental performance techniques to some extent. Maybe you watched some videos, some, Instagram, TikTok, and so forth. But were there any mental tools that you used, like journaling, visualization, or any other specific mindset training that helped you cope with all of the difficulties that you've had over the past couple of years? Definitely.
Recently started journaling. That's been a very nice step, in something I wish I had started doing earlier. That's one. The other one is just visualization, and like how important it is to self-talk and self-visualization, to like do that in positive lights as opposed to negatives, was a big one for me. especially when the frustration and anger that was coming with sports was coming through. That was really big for me in being less angry and negative and trying to focus on the positives. And that goes from your self-talk and when you're alone, what you're thinking, trying to train yourself to be more positive in general was a big one for me.
Do you use any sort of visualization techniques now?
Yes, I would say so, but I don't think it's necessarily any specific techniques, but it's just trying to frame things and have a positive, more positive outlook in general on just different situations.
Okay. And I believe you said earlier that you've worked with a therapist. Mm-hmm. Are you still seeing a therapist? Is that like a regular thing for you?
Yep, I still regularly speak with a therapist, and that's been really, really helpful as well.
Okay. And has your therapist encouraged you to use any sort of techniques, or is he or she more of just like kind of a sounding board for what's going on in your life?
More of a sounding board. Yeah, not as much. There have been times, of course, where it's like, hey, I need if you would be willing to do it, of course. Try journaling when this is happening. Write down how you're feeling. Like just try to write it out and think things through the full way and try to process your emotions. It was like a big thing.
Okay. Knowing what you know now about your mindset and mental performance techniques and those sorts of things, if you could go back and talk to the version of yourself right before your first professional season, what advice would you give yourself?
I would tell them focus on what you can control. Focus on your diet, focus on your sleep, and the effort you're putting in every day. Those three, make a set plan, stick to it. Don't get too caught up in the idea of being a professional and thinking you're too good to just go back to doing those basics the way I trained them growing up is what I would tell them. Yeah.
Do you feel like you had a little bit of a sense of entitlement about you when you were playing professionally because you'd been good for so long and you were probably the best on your grade school teams, and in college you played a lot. When you got to the pros, do you feel like you were entitled a little bit to playing?
Not so much to playing, but I felt entitled to the opportunity to play more. If that makes sense, that if I just showed I can play, then it's a given you're going to give me the chance. And also just that understanding that more than anything, like it's not so much like, oh, I'm the best, you should play me. Going in, I have no problem showing you that I should be playing. That was never the issue. It was more of once I felt I showed it to you, then maybe that sense of entitlement came in more, where it's like, hello, I'm playing here. Like I'm doing well. What more do I need here?
Okay, so you would say that the major takeaway message that you would say to your younger self is just focus on what you can control.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's reframe that question a little bit now. Okay, as a soccer player, you've lived through the highs, the lows, locker room politics, personal breakthroughs, personal struggles. For the younger generation of athletes that might be listening to this podcast, or for the current generation of athletes that might be listening to this podcast, what message would you give to younger athletes navigating the harsh reality of competitive sports?
First of all, if you're a young athlete and you're not playing, if you're on a competitive team and you're not getting the playing time, and if you're not getting game time, I would say to go find a situation in which you're playing. I'd say that's a really big one, that there's nothing more important than actually playing. Even if you move to the B team and if you're on a club and there's an A and a B team, you're not playing on the A team, I'd say move to the B team. Go where you're wanted is a big thing. I think for athletes, I think it's important to be playing that, and just plain old hard work is the other thing that it's something that if you're not constantly working to get better, that means you're getting worse, is what I would say, tell young athletes.
Is that second piece, what you just said right there, that if you're not constantly getting better, you're getting worse, is that kind of a mantra that you lived by throughout the course of your career?
Yeah, it was, and it's something that looking back on, I think I lost when I became a professional. I think as a professional to myself, I had a sense of I'm too good to just go out and pass against the wall for an hour or just stay and do little extra reps of the simple things. That's something that looking backwards, like I wasn't making sure that every aspect of my game was as dialed in as I was when I was even younger. And it's probably something that did cost me and it did cost me playing time probably, even though I felt I still did well. I think it wasn't as good as I could have.
Okay, so maybe up until the point that you made it to the professionals, you were putting in the extra reps, the extra work, the getting there early, the staying after. You were doing the extra things to constantly be getting better at what you were doing. And then when you made it to the professionals, you were kind of like, I'm here.
Yes, I still was. I was still first one in a lot of the times. I was still doing extra, but at that level, everyone's doing extra. You don't become a professional by doing the bare minimum. I mean, that's something that comes time and time again. Like you said, you're always going to be the best player on your team, but so is everyone else. So what's standing out between us is that extra hard work on top of the hard work we're already putting in. And so I think as I got moved up, the extra reps I had always grown up doing wasn't enough. You got to keep going. You got to keep pushing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's true more or less like 1% of athletes at any given level. I don't necessarily know that that's exactly the number, but let's say 1% of high school athletes go to college, right? And then 1% of college athletes go to the professionals. And to your point, everybody's the best on their team at the previous level. But then when you get to the next level, maybe you're still the best, but maybe you're not the best anymore. And to differentiate yourself in those very, very thin, fine margins of 1% is those extra reps. I
100%.
mean, if you look at, for example, professional tennis players, professional golfers have talked about this, and professional soccer players, it's probably the exact same thing. But I'll use golf, for example. If you were to go out and look at like the top 500 golfers in the world on the driving range, they probably look all the exact same. You would probably not have any idea who was ranked what in the world,
Totally.
right? Same thing with tennis players. If you were to go to a tennis tournament or just something where guys are like rallying with each other with no money or points on the line or anything like that, they'd probably all look about the same.
Totally.
Same thing with soccer goalies. If you looked at all of the professional soccer goalies and lined them up in a penalty kick situation or even just practicing, right, you all probably look pretty much the same.
Yeah. 100%.
So what then differentiates the top players from the not so top players? And again, part of the scope of this podcast and part of the scope of me being a mental performance coach is it's the mentality. And what are you doing to separate yourself from the rest when physically there's not too much different that you can do anymore? Are you keeping your attitude in check? Is your self-talk dialed in? Is it positive? Are you being a positive factor on the rest of your locker room?
Totally.
Are you meditating? Are you using visualization, right? These sorts of things that have nothing to do with physical, but you have to put in the practice and the reps doing.
Absolutely.
So maybe, again, to the point that I made earlier, if you had access to a mental performance coach, you could have worked on those things a little bit more, and that could have been transformative for you.
100%. I think I'm someone who would have benefited hugely by having a performance coach in that sense. I think that would have been. I think every single team I've been on would have benefited so much from that.
Did Cornell have access to any kind of sports psychology or mental performance coach?
I think we
resource?
did. I think there was a sports specific psychologist that we had access to, but I think it was just one person for like the whole department.
Yeah.
And then, to be honest, our coach is someone who had his own struggles and understands the mental aspect of the game better than any coach I've ever had. And he was so good at communicating about these things that I think he made the biggest difference in college, for instance, for a lot of people. And that's why the program now is a top 20 program in the country. And yeah, they're doing great, and he's an excellent coach.
I have no doubt about that. I think there's kind of a changing of the guard right now of coaching, because there's still, we're in between right now. We're in between kind of like the new age coaches that understand this stuff, the kind of younger new age coaches, and like the coaches who are kind of stuck in the past. Like my high school coach was kind of like an older guy. And I think that it's one of those, like, he got the job because he played on the team when he was in high school. And just because you were a good athlete does not mean that you're going to be a good coach.
Exactly.
Just like being a good engineer does not make you a good manager of engineers.
Exactly. 100%.
Like, being a good coach is managing people and personalities and having good communication skills and things like this. So to my point, like, we're kind of at this stage where we're between the new age coaches who understand the mental performance components and who are talking to their athletes about it and who are communicating very well and who are preaching this stuff, and the old heads, so to speak, who are kind of still like yelling at people and putting them down in front of their teammates and telling them that, you know, these sorts of things. Like, the research literally shows that that is detrimental to athlete motivation and performance.
100%.
But they're stuck in their ways.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear, and I have no doubt that because your coach, the Cornell coach, who's still there, John Smith?
Yeah, John Smith.
Right? So that's probably one of the big reasons why they're doing so well.
100%. 100%. That was the biggest. I think him and who he surrounds himself with is the number one reason why that program is where it is, and it's the number one reason where when I left, that all the teams I went on, we ended up being in the playoffs, but all those seasons were struggle. They were a struggle, and they were difficult. I think that's what was lacking, was that type of leadership. And it was interesting because you think the more you move up, the more professional it gets in every other aspect, but that's not the case. That's not always the case. Like with you growing up playing soccer, you probably had some better coaches when you were younger, and then you move up and you think, oh, it's just going to keep getting better. But no, you take a step back sometimes.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's like that in sort of the corporate environment as well. I hope that that's changing. And again, a big scope of this podcast is to get the word out about these kind of things and change that.
Totally.
But we can only change the world one thing at a time. And
exactly.
So
can only control what you can control.
This is part of it. I appreciate you being here, taking the time, Ryan, for sharing your story and being kind of a part of this movement, this mental performance movement. We're getting close to the end here, but before we sign off, are there any last words that you'd like to share, whether it's a message to young athletes, something you learned through your journey, or just a piece of advice you wish somebody had told you earlier?
Yeah, I mean, I think more than anything, it's just important that you're having fun at the end of the day. If that's not what life's about, then I don't know what is. You know, it's important to enjoy what you're doing. If you're on a team and you hate your life every day, like you don't have to do it. It really is okay. It's not the end of the world. I know I viewed soccer as life and death, and now I've taken a step away from it, and I'm having I'm really enjoying my life. I'm enjoying my time. So yeah, it's important. Like, what you're in isn't what you need to be doing, and it's important to really evaluate what you want your life to be like, how you want to feel every day. And sometimes it might be taking a step back and taking a step away. But at the same time, I knew, for instance, for me, I loved playing soccer. I don't know if I'll ever find something I love doing as much as I love being on that field. So, and if that is what you want, then just do your best to not have regrets from things by controlling what you can control. Like, don't slack. If you want to become a professional, do what you need to become a professional. It's really difficult. You have to be extremely disciplined. You have to work harder than everyone else around you.
Yeah, that reminds me. I've seen this TikTok recently. I try not to spend too much time on TikTok, but
it's hard.
It's hard. I post on my social media, on all my social media accounts every day, and so you're on there and you're like waiting for your post to actually post, and you need to keep the app open. I don't know. They probably do that on purpose, but I'm scrolling through, and the reason I'm saying this is because there's been a trend recently where maybe you've seen this, where the idea is you take a video or go through your camera roll and just do like a little kind of a video pan, so to speak, of something that's like beautiful or something that you enjoy or just one of those things. And it literally just says like, I almost forgot this is the whole point.
Yeah. I've seen those.
And it's like the beautiful background music, and it's like they're, on a vacation in Hawaii, or they're having fun with their friends, or it's just beautiful weather, or it's like animals or something like that. And it's like, to your point, that's what I was reminded of when you said that. Like, I almost forgot this is the whole point.
Yeah.
Like, have fun.
Exactly.
Like, soccer is a game.
Exactly.
It's supposed to be fun. Like, yeah, it's your career, it's your profession, but a lot of athletes who I've had on the show previously have also echoed the same sentiment where they're like, it goes by fast, be in the moment, and have fun.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, it's a game, and like, we don't want to go through our life feeling angry and frustrated and upset and sad. It's difficult when you're in the middle of it, but obviously looking back, you learn those lessons, and now you're going to be able to apply those and probably have a lot more fulfillment
100%.
For the rest of your life.
Exactly. And especially like today, and with me talking about my experiences, I have focused on like a lot of the struggles I went through, but I had such an amazing time in my 4 years. I got to live my lifelong dream of being a professional athlete. I met incredible people from all over the world. Like day to day, I like, yes, was I pissed at the coach? Of course, but am I going to go have so much fun with this group of guys who are just like me, who have done the same stuff I have? We live the same type of lives, and they're just cool people from all over the world. Like, of course. And that was when, even in those frustrating moments, when you take that step back and you're like, this is pretty cool. Like, don't get too caught up in whatever else is happening, and like have that appreciation for where you're at and take the good out of it too.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we spent a lion's share of the time today talking about your negative experiences, but I'm sure that you still did also have a great time. A lot of laughs, a lot of fun, a lot of ridiculousness, a lot of competitive enjoyment and excitement from playing soccer for 20 years.
100%.
We didn't talk about a lot of that today because the scope of your journey was to share your kind of negative experiences and why you're no longer playing and so forth. But I have no doubt that you also did have a great time too.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Not to say that you didn't, because I don't think you would have played for 20 years.
Exactly.
Your parents probably got you started playing soccer, but then at a certain point, like, it was your choice to continue playing.
Exactly. 100%.
Okay. Well, Ryan, anything else that you'd like to share today?
Nothing. Yeah, no, this has been great. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome. I think what you're doing with this podcast is extremely valuable, and something that still, which is incredible in today's day and age, still doesn't get much light shown on it, you know? I hope these sports organizations start to see the value in it too, because I think it would help their players' performance so much to really address this side of the game of just sports in general and life in general. Yeah,
it's a big piece of it, but unfortunately it's difficult to sort of turn a large ship, so to speak.
Totally.
Right, like a cruise ship doesn't turn on a dime kind of a thing. And
Yep.
As I was mentioning earlier, with kind of the old heads and the generation of people that are still a little bit more like hardcore about the way that they go about coaching their athletes kind of negatively, it's not going to be overnight that changes, but
Nope.
This is a part of that process and bringing light to those negative things. And I mean, yes, a lot of what we talked about today was negative, but the amount that it impacted you and your career was huge.
100%.
And it's important for people to understand that.
Yeah.
Coaches and society at large. Like, yes, okay, tough coaching, and we don't need to be super soft with everybody, but there is a line.
100%.
Where if you're on the other side of the line, the research literally shows that it leads to degraded performance of athletes. And if the goal, as it often is in sports, is to win, I don't think that it's in coaches or athletes' best interest to cross that line where performance starts to degrade.
100%.
Because then you're literally coaching against what the entire point is, which for most people is to win.
Exactly. 100%. It's to win, and then the other side of it also with your own having fun and
enjoy it.
Doing all that. That's the most important. And when you have coaches where half their team is quitting the year after playing with them
because they hate it so much,
because they hate their time there. That's what just happened to me at Richmond. There's a group of 6 of us that stopped playing, like out of a team of 20 something, low 20s. Like, if that's not a red flag, I don't know what is, Yeah. And I think if you're a coach and you're having an issue bringing people back, then that's definitely an issue.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, thanks again for being here. I'm sure you're going to be doing great things with your career.
Thank you.
You're going to be able to carry these lessons that you learned and things that we've talked about moving forward with your coaching of goalies, if that's a route that you decide to pursue. But otherwise, no matter what you do, I think you're going to have a lot more kind of self-awareness and enjoyment of whatever it is that you do.
100%. Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on. I'll talk to you later, okay?
Sweet. Sounds good.
All right, man. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.